Okay guys, for today's video we're going to be doing a Cuban style pulled pork. I'll be deviating a little bit from the traditional way of doing it, but I want to show you how I've modified this recipe to work for me. We're going to need some ground cumin, some fresh oregano, sea salt, Tony Chachere's, some minced garlic, and we use this this marinade, this orange bitter by Goya, as a way to make the again the solution that I'm going to inject into the pork shoulder. So into the blender I added 1.5 cups of the orange marinade. It's a bitter orange. Make sure you shake the container first. I added 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1 tablespoon of sea salt. We're gonna add 1 tablespoon of Tony's, and 4 tablespoons of garlic. 3, 4, and then we're going to add our oregano. I've already washed this off, but you're going to take the leaves, not the stalk, and you're going to put basically a palm full of oregano. So again, on the oregano, you want to make sure you don't put the leaves only and not the stalk. And then again, like the recipe mentions, about a palm full of that. Then we put the top on, and we'll get this going so that it'll all get mixed up and ground up to a puree, so I can ultimately put it in an injector and inject it into the pork shoulder. So I'll be back in a few minutes after this is all done. I typically let this puree for about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. So I got this all blended up. I took the blade out, removed this from this container, and I put it in a tall container so it's easy to submerge all of the holes into the fluid to be able to pull the liquid into the solution. And as you can see, I'll show you when you inject it what happens. You can see it kind of goes everywhere. So fill up the syringe and just inject it into the pork. Just at kind of random spots. You want to make sure that all the cumin and the juice and the salt and all the seasoning gets injected into the pork pretty consistently. And kind of go random all the way around. Now what this does is, the traditional way to do this is to make your marinade and then put it in a pan and marinate it overnight. That way all that marinade gets into the pork. But this way, it's kind of injected in, so you don't have to wait for it to be all done. You don't have to wait for it to marinate overnight. So what I just typically do is get this all in here, and once that's all done, then I'll transfer the pork to a bigger container. And then I'll just pour this solution in there and put this in the refrigerator and let it sit for an hour, just to kind of flavor the outside. About halfway, about 30 minutes into it, I'll turn this over and flip it. And then so let's let this sit for about an hour in the refrigerator, and we'll come back in a little bit and I'll show you how to transfer this to the pressure cooker and get that going. You see we got this down. Well, the sides are brown now. Let me see that side. You can get an idea of how brown you want this pork to be. Now what we do is you're ready to take and put this thing under pressure cook. So we want to take the leftover marinade. Remember, we had this in the refrigerator. It's been refrigerated the whole time. The leftover marinade, put that in. And I have 2 cups of water. Add that. And as you can see, it brings it up to about maybe a third of the side of the pork shoulder. And we'll put this in. Close it. Seal the pressure cooker, and then we'll set the timer on max. So as you can see, we got about 45 minutes to an hour browning that. And so at this point, with the liquid and the meat, you know, browned, you start pressure. Now, if you don't have an electric pressure cooker, you have to use, you know, and you're using one on the stove, then you know you want to set the rock. You know, when the pressure builds and the little indicator starts rocking, you want to set that to a medium. You don't want it to be too high. Good medium heat, and you would typically put that on for about 2.5 to 3 hours. In the electric ones, they don't vent, so you know they build up just enough pressure. It's a lot more safer. Build up just enough pressure to keep it under pressure, and all the juices, all that cumin and seasoning is going to get pushed back into the meat. And so where you would traditionally take and cook a full leg, where you'd marinate it overnight, you would slow cook it for about 6 hours, and then eventually, you know, you'd need to reduce the liquid. But you know, in a pressure cooker, it's a fraction of the time. So at this point, we have about, I guess, about 2 hours invested. So we had about 15 minutes to prep the marinade, and about 5 minutes to inject it. Another 45 minutes to an hour to let it sit in the refrigerator in the juices. Then about another hour to brown it on all 6 sides. And then now we're gonna do this for about 3 hours, and it'll be all done. It's been only about 2 minutes or so, but I wanted to show you how this stuff comes up to a boil. So again, we're gonna bring this up to a boil. I'm gonna let this cook like this until it reduces by half. And you see it's watering. As it reduces, it'll thicken up more like gravy instead of a soup. Okay, we'll take another little break, and as it starts reducing, we'll come back to take a look at it. Okay, so this is ready. So you see now it's no longer like boiling; it's more like a foam. That means most of the, see how much thicker the sauce is. And it kind of sticks to the spoon now, more like a syrup. This is where you want this to be. And so we'll go ahead and turn the heat off on this and let this just continue to stay hot and rest. And we'll stir it until most of the heat is left. So now you see it's more of a syrup. So this is what we want. Again, I just wanted to show you that process because the notes in it and the instructions are can be a little confusing. Okay, that's it. So just a couple items of note. As you're going through the pork, I find you remove the big hunks of fat out. You can see that there's sections in it in the shoulder that's all fat. We want to make sure that you get that out because I don't know, in my mind, kind of nasty. I guess some people like it though. But as you come across the fat, just take and just pick it out. Okay, so as you can see the we got all the pieces broke down nice. They got a nice thin layer of pork throughout the plate. And now what we're gonna do is you take a taste of the meat at this point to see how is it flavored. If it's fairly bland, then we want to add the sauce. So we'll go over here. Grab our pot. Get this all stirred up. What we do is we ladle the sauce throughout the shredded pork. Now this sauce is very strong. I mean it's extremely potent with cumin and pork and and the fat renderings off the shoulder. And so what you want to do is you want to kind of go through here and just kind of just liberally put some of the sauce in. And then what we do is kind of why I got the gloves. Then we'll get in here and we'll mix this pork up. We'll flip it around. Now, as you can see, the pork is starting to get some of that the golden brown looking color that we typically used to seeing with a pulled pork. Now, taste this and see what we got. Again, we don't want to overpower it. So you don't want to put all of it. You just want to taste, add a little bit and taste it and then see how you just adjust. I'm going to go ahead and put some more in here. It's still a little bland. And then we'll go ahead and mix this in again. You see why you didn't want to break it up too much, because as you mix this around, it gets really, it'll break down, shred a whole lot. So we want to leave some consistency here. And what we'll do is we'll go plate this up. So Perfect. That's how you do Cuban pork, Uncle Mike style, in a pressure cooker. So, all right, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Go try your own. Bye.